Hello and welcome to the premiere video review for Brett's Flix from theholygoof.com. Now, whether you're watching this on YouTube or theholygoof.com, this is our first video we're posting, so welcome. And just so you know kind of what this is about and what we're doing, my name is Brett Neithamer. I have a Master's in Fine Arts in screenwriting, so I have studied film structure, story structure, character arc, different things of that nature. Shout out to my professors at Spalding University for teaching me such wonderful things. Prepare to see all your hard work go to complete waste. So, for our first review today, we are going to do Star Wars Episode 1, That Phantom Menace, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know that there have been a lot of videos about this movie in the past, so we're going to try and hopefully give you something just a little bit different. This is a really divisive movie, so, you know, you have people who just kind of love it regardless of its faults, and then you have the people that absolutely hate every moment of it.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
I remember when I was a kid seeing this movie for the first time in the theaters, and it was like, wow, it was just one of those transformative experiences. Like, you ever have one of those moments when you're a child that just completely influences who you are from then on? Like, that's what this was. Like, I had seen the original Star Wars, we had the VHSs and stuff, but, you know, this was Star Wars on the big screen for the first time in my life, and it was incredible.
Now this is pod racing.
And then, of course, the sequels came out, and it was great. But then in the later years, you know, going back, rewatching my college days, I kind of just, like, really started to dislike the movie. It kind of became the redheaded stepchild, the bastard son of the Star Wars franchise. Just, like, some of these effects and some of the dialogue and everything, it didn't age as well as one would hope. So I kind of hated it for quite a while.
I know we're in trouble, just hang on.
Now it's been years since I've watched this movie, and I'm excited to give it another rewatch and see what I think about it now. So, let's watch this movie. Wow, that kinda hurt.
How word?
It kinda hurt a little bit. That it bruised. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible, but yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay. Well, number one, let's talk about something that I think is a bit important. Can anyone tell me who the main character of this film is? Okay. It's kind of a trick question. It's 3 people, maybe even 4. Okay. So if we're going off of who makes the most forward momentum decisions in this film, it's Qui-Gon.
With your permission, my master.
Qui-Gon is technically your main character. He's the one that's driving the story the most. He's the first character we meet. You know, he's the one that's been sent on this mission to help out Senator Amidala, at this point she's not a senator, to help Queen Amidala with the blockade. And at each turn in the story, he's the one that suggests that they make the decision that they go with. When their ship is damaged, he's the one that suggests they land on Tatooine in order to get repairs before leaving for Coruscant.
That's it. Tatooine.
When he finds the parts, and Anakin, he's the one that suggests betting on the pod race in order to get the parts. So when it comes to the physicality, and the forward momentum of the film, Qui-Gon is technically your main character. But can anyone tell me what his emotional arc is?
What?
It's finding Anakin. Alright, it's finding Anakin, believing this kid is the chosen one, and then fighting to get this kid trained as a Jedi. But he doesn't actually have any real opposition on that front. I mean, you kind of have the Jedi Council that says, like, no, he's too old. But, like, other than that, there's no, like, Qui-Gon doesn't care. He kind of doesn't care that he's too old. He doesn't really care what the council says. He just goes, nope, I'm going to train this kid. So, where's the pushback there? What's holding him back? What is preventing him from wanting to train Anakin? There's really nothing. That's kind of why his death at the end doesn't feel as emotional as it should. Like, you just killed off our main character, but I don't really feel like he was the main character because he's very stoic and he has these moments of action, of physically preventing the bad guy from doing something, but he does not have an emotional arc at all. That is reserved. It's split up between like 3 people. Obviously, Obi-Wan is part of that. And some could argue that Obi-Wan is your main character, but Obi-Wan is not making the decisions in this movie. Qui-Gon is.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Yes, Master.
Obi-Wan is, he's Qui-Gon's apprentice in this movie. He's not a full master yet. He has to listen to everything Qui-Gon says. So he's not driving the story. He's got a little bit more of an emotional arc than Qui-Gon because he's emotionally attached to his master, and there's also the idea of Obi-Wan pushing back against Qui-Gon and not really wanting to train Anakin in the beginning, which then at the end, he agrees to train him. So like there's a little bit more of of an arc there. But the 2 people that really have the most emotional arc are Anakin and Padme Amidala. Amidala is actually the one that has the most at stake here in this movie. She's the one that's most personally involved. The Trade Federation is attacking her planet. She is the queen, so therefore it's her responsibility to protect her people and everything. But again, she feels like a side character. And Anakin obviously has also the biggest emotional arc with leaving his mother, leaving his planet, leaving slavery, and finding freedom and wanting to become a Jedi and all this. But he doesn't show up until nearly halfway through the movie. So, he's not your main character either. What the hell? Speaking of what the hell. Let's go. What? Wait, did you see that? What happened? What just happened? Why? I'm so confused. What is this ability? When did these Jedi get the ability to move like the friggin' Flash? Alright? Do we ever see this ever again in the franchise? No.
Impossible.
Why is this here? They use it once and then it disappears. It's never used in Clone Wars or Rebels or the Mandalorian. Like it's not even the Mandalorian. It's nowhere. It's literally an ability that appears and then disappears as fast as it shows up. I don't want to hear anybody complaining about the Star Wars sequels making up powers that came out of nowhere. Okay, this came out of nowhere and then went nowhere. That's worse. That's worse.
I fear by the time you have control of the bureaucrats, Senator, there'll be nothing left of our people, our way of life.
Has anyone actually paid attention to Natalie Portman's voiceover in this movie? Well, I say voiceover. She's talking throughout the whole film, but every single line of her dialogue is ADR. It's bad. Like, why does it sound like a 30-year-old man?
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
I will sign no treaty, Senator. And sometimes it doesn't even match with, like, her lips quite properly, and it, like, comes off a little weird, and you can tell, and you're like, ooh.
I move for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum's leadership.
I get it, like, I understand, like, because you have Natalie Portman, and then you also have Keira Knightley, and there are times when you know, they have the doubles, so their voices have to remain the same. Like, they have to match, so that we as the audience don't realize the gig before they give it up at the meeting with the Gungans. And Natalie Portman steps out and she goes, "No, I'm actually Queen Amidala." It's like a little, almost like a tiny little Spartacus moment, except terrible.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
See, the flags are moving out onto the track.
Okay, so maybe I'm being a little harsh. This movie, you know, it has some really bad stuff in there, but it does have one scene. One glorious, like 10-minute sequence that makes almost every bad decision in this film worth it. And that is the pod racing scene. This is insane! This scene is so nuts, and it's like the best scene in the whole movie. It is so dynamically well shot. It's, oh man, okay, so where do I start? Let's see. Alright, well, the designs. The concept designs for these pod racers is super cool. I love the look of the engines, and then the little cab in the back, the cables like hooking it. It's like you're literally just holding onto a rocket and just praying to God that the thing doesn't blow up on you. That's so badass. The track itself and the kind of race itself is really cool. I love the little obstacles going through the caves. You have different environments, and then you have the sand people shooting at them and all that shit. It's so cool. Then you have the incredible sound design that makes this scene. It's insane. Every single racer has their own sound to the engines, and then you have the atmosphere of the Tatooine desert. You have the zooming of the racers on the ground. It's chock full of incredible sound effects and Foley and little bits and moments. And the way it's edited in there is beautiful. You have this sequence that's so long, and 3/4 of it is silent, and it's just the sound effects driving the action and driving the motion and everything. And it's incredible. And so that way, when the thing goes wrong on Anakin's pod racer and the music comes in and it's all tense, it adds even more to that moment. And it is such a well done scene. I love it. Being a kid and impersonating the pod racers and playing pod racer, not only just the video game, but like running around in my backyard, just like making the sound effects and just being a total idiot.
It's Skywalker! Amazing!
The bad news is that almost every single time there's a really great decision in this movie, it's then ruined by a bad decision. And a lot of the time, those bad decisions have their origin in Jar Jar. Oh, what are you doing, man? You ruin every single scene you come into! It's a shame, too, because the design of the Gungans isn't too bad. And I love the look of their underwater city. And holy shit, is that Brian Blessed? Yes!
Be gone with him!
He is so awesome. He's able to make even the Gungan dialogue sound good.
Jar Jar bring Russen and the Naboo together.
I love Brian Blessed. I'll always love him because of Flash Gordon.
Spartan torches! Die!
But Jar Jar, he he is just the most annoying thing in the world. He's so annoying. Ugh, he is so annoying. Just look at how look at how Dave Filoni reacts to when George tells him that he needs to put Jar Jar in the Clone Wars TV show.
I think early on, George expressed an interest that because we were in this time period of the Clone Wars, that he wanted to see Jar Jar again. And, you know, Henry Gilroy and I thought, well, perhaps an animated venue, you know, like the Clone Wars is gonna, you know, fit really well for our friend Jar Jar.
I mean, okay, alright, so to be fair, the one thing the Clone Wars did with Jar Jar was they made him self-aware. This was actually very smart, because they made him aware of how people perceive him. And once Jar Jar knows that people see him as a big idiot, he then plays that up and uses that to his advantage, thus making whoever he's messing with have a false sense of security, and then other stuff can go on. Whether he's using it as a distraction for Anakin and Obi-Wan, or Padme, or, you know, whatever, he's able to use his goofiness to the advantage of the good guys.
What are we waiting for?
Planning attack, take a time.
But George was never this self-aware, so Jar Jar just comes off as a big old idiot.
A crew favorite moment is when she kind of whacks Jar Jar and electrocutes and knocks him over with her stick.
What you doing?
Why you so here?
Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch.
Ha, word.
Okay, so, you know, the movie's not perfect, but we still like it, you know? It's a part of our childhood. It's something we grew up on. It's Star Wars. No amount of midichlorians
What are midichlorians?
could totally ruin Star Wars for us, right?
It's the truth.
It's not just like a movie series or TV show. It's its own living, breathing universe. But I want you to think about something. Really, genuinely think about this. How much of the things you like from Phantom Menace are truly from the movie? Or whether they are things that may have started in the movie but were then enhanced by the overall universe as a whole. If you took away the sequels and the Clone Wars TV show and just watched Phantom Menace on its own, what do you like about it? What of value is there? What does the film accomplish on its own? And it's kind of not much. They kill off their coolest villain in the entire Star Wars franchise.
Kenobi.
Yes, I know he comes back in Clone Wars and it's amazing! But obviously we didn't know that at the time, and I don't even think George Lucas or Dave Filoni or anyone involved in Lucasfilm at all knew that. Which is why it was so stupid to just kill him off like that. He's literally just there, he shows up, he does a cool fight, and then he's gone. And George, you've lost what it means to make a good movie. In the entirety of the Skywalker saga, this film does two things. It gets Anakin in a position to where he is Obi-Wan's apprentice, and having Palpatine become Chancellor.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
That's it. You could literally cut out everything else in this film, and none of it would affect the latter story in the Skywalker saga. None of it.
What?
You could argue that Anakin meeting Padme is also an important story beat in this film, but I would argue that the only reason that is important is because of their romance, which then develops, and that doesn't develop until the second movie. I think you could just as easily have Anakin and Padme meet each other and start to fall in love in the second movie and not have half of the crap that we have to sit through in this first one.
Midichlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
I think this film is best viewed as a singular piece in the jigsaw puzzle that is Star Wars. It's got a few important elements, but not a whole lot. you could have a lot of this film cut down and cut out, and it would not affect Anakin's journey or Obi-Wan's or any of the important people, because the main driving force in this film is killed off at the end. You kill off Qui-Gon, you kill off your main character, okay? That's why it feels so detached from the rest of the films.
Agree with you, the council does.
So, as an avid Star Wars fan, I can't fully hate the movie, you know. It's got some really great stuff in there. Duel of Fates, look, going through it, there are a few beats and moments where you're like, oh, Darth Maul would have killed you if you weren't choreographed. But, you know, regardless, it's still one of the best fights in the entire Star Wars franchise. The music, obviously, John Williams is incredible. He blows my mind with every single score.
We'll handle this.
We'll take the long way.
The pod race scene, jeez, the pod race scene. The pod race scene is gold. It's absolute gold. So overall, I would give this film a 6.5 out of 10. I can't hate it because it's Star Wars and it was such an integral part of my childhood, but it's also got some terrible, terrible dialogue.
You talking big doo-doo this time.
Some horrific acting.
I want to do it.
And some really, really weird and like convoluted story beats that flow into each other so exclusively that you can't pull one out of the other.
I mean, I've thought about this quite a bit, and the tricky part is you almost can't take any of those pieces out of there now, because each one kind of takes you to the next place, and you can't jump because you don't know where you are. It's a little disjointed.
Seems like a lot of short scenes.
It's bold in terms of jerking people around, but I may have gone too far in a few places.
So thank you for watching our first video here at theholygoof.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please stop over at theholygoof.com and give us a like. And also, if you go over on our website, you will see I have an analysis of the film written out. Some of the points I talked about are discussed in more detail, while other elements are not discussed at all. I tried to give you a few new things in this video review so that you weren't just kind of reading the same thing that you watched. Wanted to have some variety. So I do talk about some things in that paper that I don't talk about here. We hope to see you next time, where I will be reviewing Uncut Gems.
Die!